I'll be coming. Of course, I suppose he hoped he'd be coming after us.
My father put my mother and I in and made absolutely no attempt to get in himself. He said, hold Mummy's hand and be a good girl.
On the starboard side of the ship, First Officer Murdoch was far less discriminating about letting men into his boats. When Lawrence Beasley heard a crewman call out, "Any more ladies?" and there were none to be seen, he climbed into boat number 13, just before it was lowered. Boat number 1 held 12 people in all, including Sir Cosmo and Lady Duff Gordon and her secretary, Miss Francatelli. They were the only 2 women in the lifeboat.
They took us to boat number 11. The officers put my little brother and sister in. They said, "That's all for this boat." And my mother just yelled, screamed. She says, "Please let me in that boat." She says, "Those are my children." And so they did. They let her in the boat. Well, I was left on the Titanic, so I went down and saw an officer putting people in the next boat, and I asked him if I could get in the boat, and he said, "Sure," and he picked me up and dumped me in. I evidently was the last one put in that boat because they started lowering right away.
Our hopes were buoyed with the interchange of wireless messages with passing ships, one of whom was certainly coming to our rescue. To reassure the ladies, of whom I had assumed special charge, I showed them a bright white light of what I took to be a ship.
Began firing distress rockets. Though they failed to raise the mystery ship, the rockets were a shock of reality to Titanic's passengers.
With a gasping sigh, one word escaped the lips of the crowd. Rockets. Anybody knows what rockets at sea mean. Lawrence Beasley.
Somewhere between 10 and 20 miles away, crewmen on the deck of the sleeping Californian noticed several flashes of white light on the horizon. Second Officer Stone wondered if they were coming from a strange ship they had seen suddenly stop about an hour earlier. He woke Captain Stanley Lord, who had retired for the night. A sleepy Lord advised him to try and reach the ship by Morse lamp. Failing to do so, the men on Californian's deck watched the ship fire a total of 8 rockets, then apparently steam away. From the decks of the Titanic, the mystery ship that was the last hope of passengers and crew also seemed to disappear from sight.
I said to my father, "See that light of that ship? It's coming to our rescue." Hardly said the words when the light was turned off and left us in the dark. That was the last I saw of my father. He was on the deck.
He was smoking a cigar,
Yes,
and he said to you,
a
"I'll see you
cigar.
both in New York."
Yeah, yes, in New York.
It must have been terrifying once the water had gotten into the ship so far, once the ship had sunk so deeply that it actually started to flood passenger areas, to see the water slowly creeping up the stairs at the lower staircase. The forward first-class staircase went down to E deck, and to stand on the boat deck and look over this banister, this balustrade, and look down through this open well, through 5 decks, and be able to actually see seawater swirling around down there and creeping, just creeping higher and higher with every minute. That green seawater, they said that light still glowed green underneath the seawater for a time.
"1:10 a.m., April 15th. The band, now outside on the boat deck, still plays ragtime. Titanic's lights burn bright, illuminating the clear night, some of them still glowing under the placid seawater. Yet, With the firing of the rockets and Titanic's list now undeniable even to the most confident of passengers, the mood on board is definitely beginning to change.
As there were fewer and fewer lifeboats and more people knew the danger, it became more and more difficult to hold them back. Firearms were distributed by the captain to various officers manning the lifeboats to keep them from being rushed, as the expression went.
A man dressed as a woman got into our boat.
And Officer Lowe, who was in charge of the lifeboat, turned around and said, "I've a good mind to shoot you. You could have upset the boat and everyone in it."